Hi, I'm David Hernandez Zepeda, and I'm going to be reading If I Ran the Circus by Dr. Seuss. If I Ran the Circus by Dr. Seuss. If I ran the circus. If I ran the circus. In all the whole town, the most wonderful spot is behind Sneelog's store in the big vacant lot. It's just the right spot for my wonderful plants, said young Morris McGurk. If I clean up the cans. Now, a fellow like me, said young Morris McGurk, could get rid of this junk with a half-hour's work. I could yank up those weeds and chop down the dead tree and haul off those old cars. There are just 2 or 3, and then the whole place would be ready, you see. He wants to get the lot ready. All ready to put up the tents for my circus. I think I will call it the Circus McGurkus. The Circus McGurkus, the world's greatest show on the face of the earth, or wherever you go. The Circus McGurkus, the cream of the cream. The Circus McGurkus, the circus supreme. The Circus McGurkus, colossal, stupendous, astounding, fantastic, terrific, tremendous. I'll bring in my acrobats, jugglers, and clowns from 1,033 faraway towns to the place that you'll see 'em in, ladies and gents, right behind Sneelog's store in the great McGurk tent. And I don't suppose old Mr. Sneelog will mind when he suddenly has a big circus behind. Look at all the animals, all the acrobats he's bringing to the circus. Circus McGurkus. After all, Mr. Sneelog is one of my friends. He might even help out doing small odd and ends. Doing little odd jobs, he could be some aid, such as selling balloons and the pink lemonade. I think 500 gallons will be about right. And then I'll be ready for opening night. Look how many gallons Mr. Sneelog is going to be serving. What an opening night! What a night! What a sight! I'll hoist up the curtains, the crowds will crowd in, and my Circus McGurkus will promptly begin, with the welcoming toot on my welcoming horn by the horn-tooting apes from the jungles of Jorm, where the very best horn-tooting apes are all born, 'cause the very fresh air there is fine for their lungs, and some of those fellows have 2 or 3 tongues. Look at the monkeys. This way, step right in. This way, ladies and gents. My sideshow starts here in the first of my tents. When you see what goes on, you'll say no other circus is half the great circus a Circus McGurkus is. Here on stage 1, from the ocean of Ulf, is a sight most amazing. A warless named Rolf, who can stand on one whisker, this wonderful Rolf. On the top of 5 balls, 2 for tennis, 3 golf. It's a marvelous trick, if I say so myself. Look, he's standing on balls with 1 whisker. And on stage number 2, here is something new. From a country called Frumen comes the Strumtummichum, who can drum any tune that you might care to hum. Doesn't hurt him a bit, 'cause his drum tummy's numb. He drums his own stomach. And you'll now meet the Foon, the remarkable Foon, who eats sizzling hot pebbles that fall off the moon. And the reason he likes them red hot, it appears, is he greatly enjoys blowing smoke from his ears. Look at the smoke coming out. Of course, pebbles like this are quite hard to collect. but Sneelock will manage somehow, I expect. After all, Mr. Sneelock is one of my friends, and I'm sure he'll help out doing small odds and ends. Once again, Mr. Sneelock is helping out. And on stage number 4, see the Willy Waloo, who can throw his long tail as a sort of lasso. With the flip of the hip, with the tail of this kind, he can capture whoever is standing behind. He can capture old Sneelock. I'm sure he won't mind. Look at Mr. Sneelock. Now he's part of the show. And now here is a hoodwink, who wings in his hood. Without a good wink hood, a hoodwink can't wink a good. And folks, let me tell you, there's only one circus with the wink-hooded hoodwinks, the Circus McGurkus. Wow, look at his hood. The show of all shows. There's no other showman who shows you a show with the blindfolded bowman. The blindfolded bowman from Bigger Baru, the world's sharpest sharpshooter. Look at him shoot through the holes in 4 donuts, 2 hairs on a worm, and the knees of 3 birds without making them squirm. Look. And then one threw a crab apple up on the head of Sneelock, who likes to help out, as I've said. The sharpshooter look straight, doesn't hit Mr. Sneelock. And now, come to this spot, where the spotlight is hot, and you'll see in the spotlight a juggling jot, who can juggle some stuff you might think he could not, such as 22 question marks, which is a lot, also 44 commas, and also 1 dot. That's the kind of Circus McGurkus I've got. But that's just my sideshow. A start, a beginning. This way to the big tent, you'll find your head spinning. Why, ladies and gentlemen, youngsters and oldsters, your head will quite likely spin right off your shoulders. So hurry, step lively. Quick, ladies and gents, and get into your seats in my tent of all tents. My parade of parades is about to commence. Everyone's hurrying to their seats. You'll see Drum Major Sneelock fling-flank his baton, and my organ McGurkus come on, with its hot steaming pipes of gold brass-plated tin, snorting all sorts of snorts in a bumbling din. That is super stupendous, stupendous, sturorous, and when I play Dixie, please join in the chorus. Here comes a parade. Then a fluff muffled truffle will ride on a huffle, and next in the line a fine flummox with a shuffle. When flummox will carry a lurch in its pail, and a fibble will carry the flummox's tail, while on top of the flummox 3 harp-twanging snarp will twang mighty twangs on the 3 snarper harp, while a balser blows bloops on a 3-nozzle blowser, and ulcer blows floops on a 1-nozzle loser. And then comes a lion who's partly a trout, then more stuff for 45 minutes about. Whoa, look how many crazy stuff is coming out for 45 minutes. And then, behind them, while everyone stares, come my 2 on-furl marchers, who march in 5 layers. The furls march on toes and the toes march on furls. Don't know how they do it, but that's how it goes. And now comes an act of enormous Normans. No former performers perform this performance. The stunt is too grippingly, slippingly frightened. Down from the top of my tent like a greased lightning, through pots full of lots of big stickle bush trees, slides a man. What a man! On his roller skate skis. And he'll steer without fear, and you know at a glance that it's Sneelock, the man who takes a chance after chance, and he won't even rip a small hole in his pants. Look at Mr. Sneelock, he's going down this trail with a bunch of sharp plants. And now here, in this cage, is a beast most ferocious, who known far and wide as a spotted atrocious, who growls, howls, and yowls, the most blood-curdling sound, and each tooth in his mouth weighs at least 60 pounds, and he chews up and eats with the greatest of ease things like carpets and sidewalks and people and trees. But the great Colonel Sneelock is just the right kind of a man who can tame him. I'm sure he won't mind. Once again, Mr. Sneelock. Then I'll let Sneelock off for a few minutes' rest. We'll high over your heads. You will see the best of the world's finest, fanciest, breezy chirpreasing. My Zuma Zoop troop with West Upper Bendizing, who never quite know while they zoop and they zoom, whether which will catch what one or who will catch whom, or if who will catch which by the what of just where, or just when and just how in which part of the air. Look at them. They're catching each other and they don't even know who's going to catch who. Hey, what a circus, my McGurkus. My workers love work, they say. Work us, please work us. We'll work and we'll work up so many surprises. You'd never see half of it if you had 40 eyes. Look how many surprises. And now, again Sneelock, brave Sneelock is back, risking life on my patented life-risking track. While the speecher I call my colliding collusions race round in swift cars called abrasion contusions. And Sneelock just lies there, not one bit excited. I know he won't mind. He'll be simply delighted. He's just standing there. Wow. And here is a contest of brute strength and muscle. Kid Sneelock, my champ of all champs, will now tussle and wrestle a beast called the Grizzly Gazzle. And slap him around, then he'll slam him down fastly and pin both his shoulders tight flat to the mat. Kid Sneelock will love it. I'm sure about that. And while that goes on there, look at this go on here. Have you ever heard of my herd of thorough horns jumping deer? Every deer jumps through horns of another pell-mell, while his horns are jumped through at the same time as well, by a deer whose horns also are being jumped through, by another who's having his horns jumped through too, but which I'm sure trainer Sneelock can train them to do. Sneelock is training these deers who jump through each other's horns now. Then the whole tent will ring with hoorays and well shouts when I wheel in my whales and they turn on their spouts. First, my whale number 1 with an aim that aims true spouts a spout that spouts Sneelock to whale number 2. And then whale number 2 spouts his spout like a gun, and that spouts old Sneelock right back to whale 1. And then forward and backwards on spout after spout, my great spout rider Sneelock gets spouted about, just as long as the water they're spouting holds out. He's being spouted by the whales now, Mr. Sneelock. Then my tournament knights, noble apes without fears, Sir Actor, Sir Vector, Sir Bobs, and Sir Beers, Sir Hawkins, Sir Dawkins, Sir Jogs, and Sir Jeers, clatter into the tent, and while everyone cheers, stage a roused bows joust with their boxing glove spears. Wow, look at all the knights. And while ruckus goes on below, at the top of the tent, look! The star of my show, great daredevil Sneelock, the world's bravest type. He comes pulled through the air by 3 sobrarian snipe, on a dingus contraption attached to his pipe. And while people below are all turning chalk white, and all biting their fingernails off in their fright, great Sneelock soars up to a terrible height. They're pulling him. Then he shakes himself loose. He starts down in a dive, such as no man on earth could come out of alive. Then he smiles as he falls, and no fear does he feel. His nerves are like iron, his muscles like steel. And he plunges down, down, with his hair still combed neat. 4,692 feet! And then he'll land in a fishbowl. He'll manage just fine. Don't ask me how he'll manage. That's his job, not mine. Why, he'll be a hero, of course he won't mind, when he finds out he has a big circus behind. Mr. Sneelock doesn't even know. If I Ran the Circus by Dr. Seuss. I chose this book because I myself remember reading it when I was in elementary school, and it was really weird. The words are really weird. They're really compacted. They're really run on. They're really rhyming, and I think it's just a fun way for students to begin to see that writing and becoming an author and that whole area of ELA does not have to be boring and does not have to be constricted. Dr. Seuss really opened the way for students to see what is possible when it comes to writing and when it comes to making your own stories.